Hello my crafty friends, Corrine here from Corrine Crafts. I hope you are well. Isn't this a pretty card? Now I've reverted back to sort of my favourites, pinks and greens and yellows. You know I like this holy trinity of colours that work so well. And I've got this sort of peony style flower die as well. We've created a background, we've done some snipping into our die cuts, paper piecing. I think it's really lovely. There's loads of lovely height, but not too much that you're going to have a problem posting it. I could still get this in a regular envelope. I'm trying to remember how big my card blank was. It was 6 inches by 7.5. I can remember now. There we go. I hope you like this. I'm going to show you how you can do this, but please think about how you can use the dies that you already have to create this style effect. Yeah. And I hope you like the layout and the design. So I'm going to show you now how I put this together. Here is the start of today's card. So I just wanted to show you the sort of dimensions that I'm using. And I know a lot of my viewers in the US quite like it when I do more of a rectangle card than a square card. So I hope this one will appeal to you as well. So I've got a piece of card here and it's 5 by 6.5 inches. Now I'm using just multi-purpose card. This is a 300-350 GSM. Nothing fancy about it. It would work really, really well, in fact, if you wanted to use watercolour card. So whatever you wanted to use. And this is going to sit on a card base. Now I've put this on. I've managed just to find this piece of glitter card. It was in my scrap pile that I'd already used a bit of it. So I've cut out the centre so that I can use that again on another project. And the card base is 6.5 by 7.5 inches. So you'll see the card base is 1 inch bigger there and 1 inch bigger there. And that's my sort of preferred size of card base. That's how I tend to like to work. What we're actually going to do is we're going to have another piece of white underneath there. So we're going to do 2 layers of white. It just gives a nice border, and that's going to sit on the pink like that. But we're not going to put that white. Actually, I could put that white on now, couldn't I? That would do. Well, now I've got it in my hand. As always, it's a 10-fold card, and as always, we've taken the centre out. So like I say, that piece here was 5.5 by 6, 5 by 6.5. So this is just about, I don't know, about 1/8 of an inch bigger. Not a lot, it's just a little bit bigger. So take the foam tape off the back of there, and then I'm going to grab a little bit of PVA, because PVA is the best one to use for this. I can then run the PVA over. It definitely doesn't want to be anything solvent based, because we've got the glitter card, and now although it's an encapsulated glitter, that means it's got a coating on. So if we went in with a solvent based glue, we run the risk of damaging that. So let's just lift that up a little bit. Look at that, absolutely perfect. Once we're happy where it is, we can press it down, and we're no longer relying on the glue. We've now reverted back to the foam tape. So I can get that, and if I wanted to, I could just get something flat and I could put that on top, and that will then just press that down while we get on with the next bit of the card. So we're going to come back to this, and we're going to keep it really, really simple, because I want to have a bit of time to do the next bit. Okay, so I've got a nice clean work surface to work on now, and I'm going to pop this piece of card on there. So you notice the writing that I wrote on is on the back. So I'm going to put that on there, and I've got myself 3 stencils, and these are sort of, it's like my 3 that I go to all the time. Obviously the dots I like a lot. I love this water droplet one. I use it all the time, and this is another quite favourite, sort of a floral one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let's grab the dots first. Now I think you can see what colour I'm going with. I've got my 3 colours here. Make sure you can see them. I've got Spring Meadow, I've got Lemon Tonic, and I've got Pink Tulip. Just pull those down just a little bit so that you can see them. And those are my 3 colours. It's one of the holy trinity of colours. Blending brush, you can do it however you want. Blending brush or dauber, it's entirely up to you. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a little bit of ink, and I'm just going to work to the top. Now I'm not necessarily going to go off the edge. You can go off the edge if you want to. It's entirely up to you. Now I don't want any straight lines, so I'm just going to work off the edge there. Look at that, that's pretty. And then I'm going to just come down here and work off here. Now there's quite a lot of ink on the stencil itself, so you can really make the most of that, and that just blends in. There we go, nice pretty pattern. Don't worry if they overlap in the middle, because we're going to be covering the centre up. I'm then going to get my pink tulip. Let's get some pink blending brush, which is actually purple because I don't have a pink one. There we go, let's put it that way around. And again, I'm going to do it in 2 sections, just so that I don't get any straight edges. And I can just come around here. I don't want it too much. I almost thought about doing this as a white, you know, white background, but then I thought, no, I just want a little bit of something. So, and I also like it where you don't just use whole shapes. So just, you know, start to come into some of the shapes, and then just not use the whole thing. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Really subtle. I mean, how quick is this? Let's get the third one. And then we can just put that sort of diagonal across there. So I need a green dauber. We're going to go Spring Meadow. I like Spring Meadow. It's quite a refreshing one. Notice we all sort of tap, give a little tap before we start, just to blend that ink through the dauber so that you don't get any sort of cloud effects. Just come around here. Remember, as I said, we're going to go across the middle, so it doesn't matter if it all overlaps. And there, so you just got that hint. I could put a little bit more there if I wanted to, but I think that'll probably be enough. Let's get those out of the way. So the next thing I want to do, now the next bit I'm doing is entirely up to you if you want to do it. So I'm going to pick up this and I'm going to do it. Now, you've seen me recently use some of my Distress Oxide sprays, and I've taken the end out and just given them a sort of little shake. But actually, I don't know who I saw doing this. I saw it somewhere. I don't like spraying them because I find it gives me far too much. So, and it's very fine. So what I like to do is put that there. Paintbrush, just slightly damp. Drop it in so you can see it on the end of the brush, and then you just find something to tap with. You can tap with your finger if you want. Look at that, look at the control, and look at the size of the droplets. Now, it's when you do this is the bit where you might think actually a watercolour card probably would be better, because they do sort of splay a little bit on multi-purpose card. So if you want to try it with watercolour card, you might get a better formation. And I've actually got another one prepped where I'm going to do something very similar, and I am using watercolour card. That'll be in a day or two, so you will see the difference. So let's get the pink. Let's dip that. Oh, I went in a bit deep with that one. And then we can just tap. Now, ideally, you could just get your heat gun out between colours and just give it a little bit of a tap. Look at me, that's so little. You're hardly going to be using any of your distress sprays. Now, what you need to do is leave that to dry. But look at that, isn't that pretty? I'm going to put that to dry, but in true, here's one I did earlier. I've got one that's nice and dry. I think I might have put a little bit of yellow on as well. But there we go, that's fine. Let's see where that card blank is that I had under the... There we go, that's pressed down beautifully now, just from putting something on top. So this one's dry. I only did this one a couple of hours ago, just before I went to make tea. Just got it all set up. That's how I tend to do. Prep a couple of projects and then have a break while life happens, and then come back to them. So there we go. I just love doing this. And I meant to say, I'm sorry if you noticed that there was no video on Thursday of this week, but I went to Germany with my daughter. I think some of you saw one of my posts when I checked in somewhere in Dusseldorf. We went on an orchestra tour, which was really lovely. She's part of Leicester Symphony Orchestra, and oh wow, they are amazing. Wonderful ladies and gents, and they made me very welcome. So it was brilliant. Okay, so I've put that on. So yeah, as I was saying, I couldn't get enough videos together before I went. So yeah, I'm sorry if there was a gap. All right, so what I have done is I have this die set. I don't know where it's from. It's in my flower set. And it's a 3-piece die set. So what you've got is you've got a matte layer that cuts like this. There we go, that cuts there. Use as many layers as you want. You've got the detail layer, but it actually cuts out. Now this is a bit small because I haven't actually used a big enough piece of card, but it's big enough for what I need it to do. So that cuts through like that. Now you can see, look, I didn't even cut down there, but you'll see in a minute that I don't need it. And then I'm going to cut it in green in a minute, but I'm going to show you a top tip. And then you've got this piece that does all of the gaps, and I'm going to cut that out of pale pink. So I'm using a linen card because that's what I like to do. And I'm going to pop that. Yep, that's going on there. I've measured this to within an inch of its life because I was using it. So pop that onto there. I've already cut the pink, I've already cut the white, so I need to cut the green. Now, if I was using, I could be doing this. I'm trying to think, you need to almost take the pressure off a little bit, because what we want to do is we want to pop all the bits back in on the green layer. You don't have to, but I want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this through here, and I'm also going to pop that through there. So I'm going to run those through my die cutting machine. So let's have a go with that. I don't want any more pressure on either of those than is absolutely necessary. I can feel the pressure on there already. Oh, never mind. Right, so let's go through there. I'm going to flip it over because I want that for both. Just knock that one down. That's come off there. And that's come off there. So I'm just going to move those to one side because I want all those bits. Now this one piece has come out, and I'm going to pop it back in. So I think you've probably seen this technique when we used to demonstrate on TV quite a bit. So what you've done is I've cut it, and all of these bits are going to pop out, but I don't want them to pop out. I want to create a solid, base. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop that out like that. Pop all the bits back where they should. And then I'm going to get some masking tape. Just some really, really basic masking tape. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little bit, and then I'm going to pop the video on a little bit of a fast forward because it takes a while. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go across these where I can. Oops, I could do with my little scissors. And I'm just going to trim these in. And I'm just going to make sure all of these little bits stay in the base. So you have to go right to the edge so that they stay in. And I'll show you. I'll just keep doing this. I'll speed it up and then I'll come back in a minute. Okay, so I've now got masking tape on there holding all of those bits in. Might be wants to take it out the die, just need to trim the masking tape a little bit. So I'm going to peel that off. What you might want to do is just give it a little bit of a poke, because the masking tape will only hold it if it can. So if you just poke these little bits, just give them a chance so that they can come out. And then I can pop, oh, there we go, pop that out. And then, oops, give that a little poke just there. There we go. And now I've got this beautiful matte layer. Now, the reason I'm doing it that way is because what you could do is I could have poked all the bits out, glued it on to there, onto the matte layer, and then put them in. But I don't want to do that. I want to give it a bit of elevation. Now, I can see a little bit of masking tape in a couple of places. So I'm just going to trim that down, just make sure it's disappeared. There we go. So now I've got the perfect matte layer, and I can put this on here. So you'll see why now I didn't need the full pink layer. So what I want to do with the pink layer is cut off anything that is foliage. So I'm just going to come round and just shape through here. I know it's a little bit more faff, but honestly, it's so worth it because it will look amazing when it's finished. So it's a 3-layer die, but I'm creating sort of 4+ layers with it. So it just looks even nicer. So we can then just do this. And you can do this with so many dies. You can, trim into them. There's so many different ways to use your dies. And I just love, you know, experimenting, seeing, getting the most out of them, because they cost quite a lot of money. So if you can get more looks from your dies, then that is good. Okay, so I think that should do that. So this now can go on to there, and so that means that the green foliage then shows through. Oh, I see what I have done though is, and this is where you just have to make sure you check everything. What have I just done with my pokey tool? I moved it out of the way. Now, I just saw something. What did I just see? This piece here is actually meant to be a gap. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to peel this little bit back. I've been a little bit too excited with that bit. Take that piece off, and then I can trim that to there. Oh, I think I might have just caught a little bit of the green. Oh well, I'll have to sort that in a minute. And then that piece can go there. There we are. Right, perfect. So we've now got that. So now I just want to stick this on here. So another quick way of doing some gluing is you can get your glue, and I'm going to get my tacky glue. There it is. Or you could use your precision glue press. And I'm just going to get it really slowly coming out. Just put in a couple of little bits on. Not too much. Oops, I don't want that going on the front. You do need to clean up your mat after you're finished. So I'm just putting a few little bits on like this. There we go. So that's quite rough and ready. Then I've got a really old, oh, not an old, but I've got a kitchen sponge, and I'm just going to dab it round, and that's just going to make it super sticky, and it's just going to dab it wherever I want it. And you can always just put a little bit of glue on the side and then just dab it. So, but all I say is keep the die cut still, otherwise you'll get glue on the front. And that now has created a really super sticky die cut that will go over there, and you can see this really starting to come to life now. How perfect is that? Right, so just make sure you clean up your mat, and then we can put, now I caught that one, but I've just realized it's not going to be a problem at all. So what we can do is we can bring this one in that we cut. Can you remember I cut all of these and then I just caught them all? So what I need to do, turn that over, and now what you can do, if you're clever, and it doesn't always work, is that one goes there, that one goes just there. So I'm going to get my precision glue gun. Oh, it's swapping and changing my glues all the time. Oops, I'm throwing stuff around. Pear tweezers is really good for this. Put a little, hold that there. You can, either way, you can do it one or the other, and then, oops, put that into there. But we don't want the glue to ooze. The last thing we want it to do is ooze. So that one, yep, goes there, because we're going to do a little bit of inking in a minute. Is that right? Yes, it is. There we go. Pop that one in. Then this one is for there. It just takes a minute, but this is paper piecing, and I really do enjoy paper piecing. It's very, very rewarding. It's a lovely pastime. Now, sometimes I go right, there it is. That one comes out of there. Now, in fact, what I used to do when I was on TV is I used to have something called cut and release. What was it called? It's gone out of my mind. Cut and release. So you could put it on and then it would hold them in place. But it's quite hard to get hold of. So if you can't get hold of that, then you just have to just take your time and do it this way. So let's just put some glue in these places and see if I can be a little bit clever. I'm not sure if this is going to work. Should I really be trying to see if it's going to work whilst videoing? I don't know. Never mind. So we can just poke these down and hopefully they're going to go in the right place where I've just put some glue. Poking them out through the pokey holes. Oh yes, look at that. Straight in to the right place. That was a bit of luck, wasn't it? For all of those. Just poking them down. Isn't that beautiful? Doesn't that look absolutely gorgeous? Where's the last one? I've got these two that go up here. They go that way round. So let's do those two. Then I'm just going to lay that over the top. And then poke those out. Even if you just have to slot them in, it still saves you a lot of time, doesn't it? And then finally, I've got these ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those ones didn't have one. I remember I had to sort of make a couple of adaptations when I was doing one in prep, but we get there. So those ones go like that. Poke those out. Just takes a minute and hopefully they're roughly where they should be. Oh, one's not come out. I can get that in a minute. Poke them in to their little gaps. This is quite a quick paper piece, isn't it, by doing it that way? And I've got one stuck in the die. Come on, pop out. Doesn't want to come out, so I'll just grab the tweezers and get it out that way. There you go. So now you can see why I wanted that green layer on the back, because it just captured those. Right, now I've got a couple of pieces missing, so bear with me while I just try and get those ones cut, and I'll be right back. Right, so all of these ones don't actually have a paper piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut from the main die and capture them that way. So it's a little bit tricky. So I've just cut 3 little pieces. Oops, and they keep falling off. So let's put them like that, because those are the 3 I want. Let's find my cutting plates. So I've gone back to the main die. These didn't have pieces on the accessory die. I don't know why, but they all look like they should be paper piece, but they're not. So I've just gone back to the main die. I'm just cutting out the waste in the pale pink, but I'm just using little scraps so that I don't waste lots of pink card. I'm going to bring this back in. So I'm going to be putting glue. I want to put some glue on there. Just there, there and there. I want that piece. Then I wanted let's take that tape off. And then I wanted those 2 from there. Let's poke them out straight into place. Those ones wanted to go just there like that. Tacky glue will hold for a few minutes while you do that. Look at that. Isn't that absolutely perfect? So the final little bit I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in with my pink tulip. Now I had it on a very small dauber somewhere. Where's my little dauber gone? Might need a little bit of the darker pink as well. Okay, so I'm using one of these little tiny mini daubers. And you could have done this inking before you put it all together, but it gets quite complicated and tricky. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to ink round the base of the petals, and it only has to be just a sort of hint, but it just looks nicer if it's not totally flat. I'm going to bring in a little bit of pink tulip, fuchsia as well. Ooh, that is a lot. That's a bit more than I was thinking. Never mind. It's picked it up. There we go. And that's just added some highlights that I could do with a bit more on this one, look. There we go. Isn't that pretty? Now, what I can do then is I can now glue this onto here using some 3D glue so that it raises it up. And that's what we're going to do in a minute. So let's bring back the card base. We've got it there. Let's move all these inks out of the way so they don't distract. And I've got one that I've already done, look, and you can see, look, you could do this with foam pads. I've just done it with my 3D glue, which you know I love to use. So let's bring in a 3D glue. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop one of them across here like that. And then this one, I'm going to pop just underneath. But I might do it at a different, I might just do them. Should I do them like that? I want them sort of coming off the edge of the card, but I want them up a little bit. Now, do I want... If I wanted that like that, I might cut... Oh, I don't know. How do I want those to go? Because I've got the white showing there, you see. And then I don't know if I want that showing. How do I want that to work? I might... Oh, decisions. I might trim this foliage off here. Just have a green layer. Oh, I hope I'm not making a mistake here. Just like that. So that goes back on here. So then I can trim into here. Really cutting into this die cut today, aren't we? Let's just have a tiny little bit of white showing. Just a little bit. Once it's all together, it'll look perfect. Promise. And that can go like that. And then that's going to look better. I'm not cutting it. I can always tuck this green bit in a minute. So let's pop this onto here. I'm sorry, these sort of evolve as I'm creating them, so I never totally know how we're going to make it look. So bit of 3D glue. If you want to look at this, this would be perfect for a foam pad. Lots of space. It's only when you come to doing these little bits that you sometimes think, this is why I use dimensional glue. If you can't find 3D glue, look for dimensional glue. I'm sure you can find it under dimensional glue. So that goes onto there. I'm not going to press it down too hard because, oops. Oh, I put the glue on the wrong side. It's done a little twizzle on there. Let's get that bit of glue off there and put it underneath. On the right side, it twizzled round. How annoying was that? Let's put that just there. Like that. So you can see we've got height, we've got dimension. And then, so I need to pop this onto it. So this could go on flat. This could go on with a little bit of height, which is what we're going to do. And you could, again, foam pads would be perfect for this. So I'm going to pop that one coming that way. And then this one is going to come. Oh, I think I prefer it like that. After having trimmed it down, but never mind. It's fine. Let's put that one under there. And pop that coming out like that. And then I think I might just, having trimmed it off, I might, oops, that's nearly all gone. Pop that coming at a slightly different angle. Like that, there we go. Now this just wants lifting up because it's, this one needs to be above the other one. Oh, isn't that pretty? Doesn't that work gorgeous? Now that one goes off the card a little bit more, so I'm just going to pull that one. And then all I want to do is, I've got a sentiment just from my sentiment packs. I've mounted it onto a tiny little bit of the pink card, and I'm going to pop that down there, just like that. And I think, let me think, let's go in with a couple of waterfall droplets. I need my scissors, tweezers, and I'm going to go with the smallest ones. And I'm just going to pop, I think I'll use five of the waterfall droplets, the tiny, tiny ones. Oops. And then, there we go. How about that? That's it. Just a little hint of a little shimmer on there with the waterfall droplets. I really like that. So that you can see now why I wanted this at the top half, so that we could put the sentiment. You could do anything. You could have a sentiment across the whole width. It's entirely up to you. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that pretty? And the great thing is, with 3D glue, you can adjust, you can move things around. I want to just give that a bit more height. So all I need to do is put a little bit more glue under there. And there you go. Height straight away. Oh yes, that's better. Really, really works so well. Oh, isn't that pretty? So it's one die set. We've added an extra layer in. We've created height. We've created, look at that dimension. Isn't that pretty? I can see a little bit of 3D glue there that I don't want to see. Great thing about 3D glue is it gives you time to play around. And yeah, I've been able to mix and match, change things around, move them around. That's getting a little bit flat, so let's go in with a little bit of glue. Put that, there we go, just to give it a bit of height. There we are. How about that? Oh, it's so pretty, isn't it? So pretty. I got distracted on what I was saying. So yeah, one die set. We've mixed and matched it. We've done a bit of paper piecing. We've, you know, added in our own detail. We've inked it. We've done all those extra little bits. And then we've put it on a background. Now, like I said, I nearly went with a pure white background, but I just love those little hints of colour. Just works for me. It's just personal preference. But if you want to do it on a white background, go for it. There are so many different dies that you could do this snip into, change them around. Yeah, this is just one that I have in my flower folder. Don't know where it's come from. It's one that I've had for quite a long time, but I do like it. How about that? Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? I hope you like that. I hope it's given you a little bit of inspiration. You could change the colours, you could change the dyes, but how about that? Just making your own sort of swag or swathe across the centre of your, not centre of your, it goes across the centre, but I've done it up on the top, sort of 2/3, little sentiment. And that is everything done. So thank you for watching, my crafty friends. And I'm sorry, like I said before, I'm sorry that I missed one of my videos, my scheduled one for Thursday, but I hope you'll forgive me and that this makes up for it. But as always, I'll link to a previous video on the left, and I will link to my subscribe button on the right if you haven't already subscribed. So don't forget all the links to things that I can find, the sprays, some stencils, some inks, everything will be in the description down below. And anything you can click on really does help me. You don't have to buy, but anything you can click on really, really helps my channel. So thank you, along with my Buy Me a Coffee link as well. So thank you, my friends, and until next time, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you all again very soon. Bye for now.